Alec, not one, not two, not three, but four home runs in a single game for the big guy, Kyle Schwarber, last night. An electric night down at Citizens Bank Park. Alec, there's not much more to say. Let's get into it, man. Historic night left and right. These guys putting the ball out of the ballpark, getting past New York, coming back home, coming back to the friendly confines of Citizens Bank Park. An emphatic statement made from Kyle Schwarber right off the bat, and then he repeated that statement 3 more times. It doesn't get much more exciting than that. Our guy Sean Nestor was down in the ballpark last night, out in the press box. He was texting us going crazy. He was sending videos left and right. Everybody in the press box was doing it. An exciting night for fans, for media, for players alike. Really good vibes after a rough week. Alec, the 4 home runs was only part of it. Let's start there, though. What was your reaction to an incredible statement made by this team's leader in Kyle Schwarber?
There are only 21 instances of a player hitting 4 home runs a game in Major League Baseball history. We're talking a sport that is over 150 years old. And what we witnessed last night is nothing short of history. Has it been the 3rd time this season that it's happened? Yes, but that doesn't take anything away from what we saw. I got home from work. I was standing in my kitchen eating dinner, and I turned on the radio because I saw that, Schwarber hit home runs 2 and 3 while I was driving home from work. All right, let's listen in. And I just intently had the radio up. He took that changeup or swung. I think he swung past the changeup, making it a 1-2 count. I'm like, ooh, those changeups been rough for him. If he throws him another one, I don't know if he's going to have a chance here. And then don't you know, he just thwacks one to right. And I was so excited. Like, anybody who loves baseball loves this. We're witnessing history. And what we're saying about how he rebounded, he was 0 for 20 going into tonight. 0 for 20, and he hits 4 home runs in one game. I don't know if there has ever been a 0 for that large responded with a statement that large. What we witnessed is nothing short of incredible, and really just helped everyone wash the taste out of their mouths from the Mets series. Like, there's no argument that now there's excitement again. This has been a roller coaster of a season, and it's just been from, all right, we're the best team in the National League, to, oh dear Lord, what the hell? And right now we're back right on top. So it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, man, absolutely electric. I don't care if you're a part of the media. Everybody who's involved in this game was a fan at some point. I'd be lying if I said that I didn't get excited and tune in to the MLB app when Eugenio Suarez did it earlier this season. I got excited when there was a chance for Nick Kurtz to hit his 4th. I was watching that game live. This kind of excitement is something that you don't see every day. I vividly remember the game where Ryan Howard, I believe it was during his MVP season, where he hit 3 and a fan ran out. I was there with my dad, and a fan ran out onto the field and got down on his hands and knees and did this to Howard. And when security came over, he put his hands behind his back right away. Like, yeah, I know. Go ahead. I had to get this moment in, though. Like, that's how exciting these things are for people. And at the end of the day, everybody loves the home run, even if it's not the end-all, be-all of the game. It's the most exciting thing in the sport. Really awesome moment. And again, how old this game is, it's only happened 21 times. There's not many more rare things than that. I mean, there's been more perfect games than 4 homer games. There's been, it's like unassisted triple plays, 2 grand slams in a game, 20 strikeouts, and like 10 RBI games are the only thing. Kyle Schwarber
almost had one RBI. A 10 RBI game. He had 9.
He had 9 RBIs.
With a chance for more.
9 RBIs, set a new franchise record for single game. He comes up with a chance to hit a 5th one. Unfortunately, he's facing a position player throwing 30 to 50 mile an hour meatballs up there. Appreciate the love, Kev. Yes,
62 mile an hour sliders, to be fair.
Oh yeah, okay. But like, some of those things were ridiculous, and it's funny. Kyle even said on the post game that he's not a guy who really talks about the game during the game, talks about excitement, but when it's a blowout and there's a position player on the mound, you're a DH, you're in the cage swinging. Apparently, he said to he turned around to some guys in there and said, "Hey, how many guys have hit five in a game?" And everybody got dead silent. He was like, "Ah, crap! I shouldn't have said anything." Like, so he went up there knowing that that he had a really a chance to make history. And
But I don't know if you saw the post game comments. He also is not have a good record against position players. I think he
oh,
was 10
really?
for 9 with like a single and a double off of position players on the mound. So he would have had a better chance if it was an actual reliever.
That's funny, man. Speaking of against relievers, another position or another moment of history for the guy. You and I were talking about it pregame. Alec, tell the people what you saw because you're the one who brought it up. I want to give you the love for pulling this one for us.
I remembered seeing the game note a couple of weeks ago saying that Kyle Schwarber had tied Barry Bonds for the most home runs off a left-handed reliever by a left-handed batter with 11. And last night, he added 2 to that total, which means he now owns that record by 2 with 13 home runs off a left-handed reliever. I don't think it can be repeated enough that the way Kyle Schwarber has reinvented himself as suddenly being a guy that can hunt down any left-handed reliever is an insane evolution to a guy's game past the age of 30. I don't know how he's doing this. You look at it, and it's added another level of protection for, say, Bryce Harper, because it's not as simple as, all right, Harper and Schwarber coming up in the lineup here. Let's get a lefty reliever going for these two guys. No, because he's better against the lefties than he's against the righties right now.
It's remarkable to watch, and it's funny when you started talking about it. And you already got to the point, but could you imagine when he first came here, that first season that he had, that he would end up having a season like this? When he was brought in, he was a 3 true outcome guy. He was really good eye at taking walks, could still get beat by that low and outside breaking ball like everybody can, especially power hitters in the game. And he could hit the crap out of the ball. But he's hit more home runs in a Phillies uniform in each season than he did anywhere else. He is hitting for a decent average. You moved him out of his comfort zone, and he's setting career numbers in RBIs. He didn't even move drastically down. He moved one spot down, and he's already passed his career high in RBIs. He has reinvented himself, continued to work hard, and turned himself into a viable middle-of-the-order long-term bat. And that extension's coming. It might not come until other people get some offers in first, but every couple weeks, that extension number keeps getting higher and higher because of the work that this guy has put in both on and off the field. It's so impressive to see. Alec, sorry for taking all the screen time, but you just mentioned it. He's having a better year against left-handed relievers than the most prolific home run hitter of all time. Come on. I know that it's not as good of a season as what Barry Bonds ever did because nobody will do that. It was insane. But
could you imagine
a lefty reliever for a guy who hit like 190 for the majority of the season 2 years ago?
Could you imagine if just somehow Kyle Schwarber just changes into Barry Bonds for the back half of his career? He starts
his head triples in size.
32, yeah, with pure steroid Barry Bonds, except he's just that way. He's just built different.
He's just built like a keg.
Well, not anymore. Dude is fit. Back when he was a rookie, yeah,
built like a fridge, not like he ate the fridge. Like he's just
he is
solid
the fridge. But it's God. There's so much that you can say about Kyle Schwarber. I think the funniest thing is I looked at his stats from last year to this year. Batting average, exact same. On base percentage, like 2 points higher. But then slugging percentage is over 100 points higher than it was last season. Like, how do you do that? How do you go from, all right, yeah, no, exact same stats, except, I'm thwacking the ball any place I want. So, yeah, Here's 49 home runs.
Dude, that third home run where he just like took his hand off the bat, the one to what was it, to opposite field or like left center?
Yeah.
He just
No,
took
no,
his
literally to
and
pretty
was it
much,
dead center?
it was left field.
Yeah, and you knew right away, like, oh, it doesn't matter that he took one hand off. That thing is out of here. He absolutely crushed that ball. It was such an impressive night for Schwarber. Prior to he hadn't hit a home run in 14 previous plate appearances against a position player. Had a chance there, but my goodness, what a night from Kyle Schwarber. And he wasn't the only one who performed. All of the
Oh,
starters
Harrison
got a
Bader,
hit.
you need to shout out Harrison Bader. He had such a good night. Wasn't he 4 for 4?
Yeah, and
And
he had a chance
now
at the cycle at the end.
yeah, he actually he did, which is crazy. And you can see that he wanted it too.
Oh yeah, big smile on his face when he got the
The
deflected
little
single instead of a home
deflected
run. Yeah,
infield single. You're just like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, the way he's been hitting recently is really shown his worth, and really an underrated acquisition from the trade deadline. They didn't give up a ton for this guy. They really didn't. I think he's
no,
a rental with a mutual option, which, if he's playing this way, he's not going to accept the mutual option. So, but in center field, he's a great defender. He's hitting well. I see no drawbacks all of a sudden to this trade when the first 2 weeks were like, eh, eh. So, I mean, the home run in New York was also exciting, and that's part of the streak he's been having. I wish the rest of the team did a little bit more in New York, and I'm sure everybody did, but we're past that. And Bader is one of those guys from last night and recently has just been really great.
well, it's funny for all the criticism that Rob Thompson gets. He after the trade deadline, he kind of committed to that. We're going to rotate some guys and see who's hot and kind of play it by almost a strict platoon at two positions. And then Nick really went through some struggles, and Nick kind of joined that rotation, and he seems to be pushing all the right buttons. Everything is working as like you would hope. It's people want to talk about how platoons are. Oh man, if you have a platoon too long, what happened? Well, it's working for them. It's working in the infield. It's working in the outfield. Weston Wilson looks reinvigorated. Max Kepler looks like a legitimate player. When we were calling fans across the Delaware Valley were calling for him to be DFA'd a couple weeks ago, and he looks like a solid contributor now. Harrison Bader's finally settled in. Nick, he's not out of the lineup every day against the right-hander, but a couple days off his feet, and all of a sudden he looks reinvigorated. He's pushing the right buttons right now, despite what happened in New York. A lot of things are going right for this team at the same time.
I am wondering how much the move to left field affected Kepler, because all of a sudden now that he's getting some playing time in right field, which is his natural position and where he's played the majority of his major league career, it seems that he's more comfortable and playing way better than what we were chattering for, in that was him being DFA'd and released, because he was not contributing really anything to this line. Was he hitting the ball hard? Yes, but it just had no results attached to it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if him getting a little bit more playing time over Castellanos is doing anything for him in that department.
Yeah, and I said it on here a couple weeks ago with, I believe it was with Chris Babos. I said on Fox Sports The Gambler with Sean Brace. Castellanos' struggles, we know that he should be and is capable of being an everyday player. But when you play as much as this guy has, and this guy is committed to trying to reinvent himself in the outfield. It did work last season. This season, there's been some rough patches, but he works really hard. He's one of the first guys out on the field every single day when you're down at the ballpark,
He's
working on his craft
early
in the
batting
outfield.
practice.
Yeah.
He's always taking early batting practice. And
always. And he's out there for a long time.
I've seen him out there with Kepler. I've seen him out there with Johan Rojas. He kind of gives guys an opportunity to get that extra work in.
For sure. And
he's been a good part of this clubhouse. Sometimes he says things that it's a little annoying, but seeing that work ethic, it is there.
For sure. And my point was that I think a guy who's played that much and played in the field that much when he probably signed here expecting to play some DH once in a while and just not been in a position to do that with Schwarber also being signed and then the need for Harper to do it for an extended period of time. I think that you ended up in a position where this guy's playing in the field way more often than he anticipated, and maybe he's just a little worn down. And he's not going to raise his hand and be like, hey, coach, I need a day off. But Rob has started to recognize, okay, look, if you're going through this bad of a struggle, we need you to be ready to go come October. Let's get him off his feet a couple days a week. And if in turn it's helping Kepler be more comfortable, then it's a win-win. So to me, I think you're right. I think that could be a factor. It's not something I had considered, but Kepler's played so much, he's played so much right field during his time in Minnesota that could be a factor in him feeling a little bit better. One comment that we got here that I want to bring up, and we're going to do a little bit of a reset here. Have you discussed how handsome Alec is yet? No, we have not. And speaking of, folks, for everybody who's a regular watcher, regular listener of Alley Talk, welcome back. We were so excited about last night's performance from the Phillies that we forgot to thank you for joining us for this week's Alley Talk. You know what it is. Every single week on Philly Sports Network, YouTube, and social media, you can find me hosting Alley Talk. Kyle Fisher, 4-5, right there. You saw it. But this week, we're joined by the incomparable Alec Costival, my guy who ran the show for the trade deadline special that we had here on Philly Sports Network. Unable to join us as much as he would like, but when he's here, we know that he brings the knowledge, brings the energy. Alec, welcome back to Alley Talk, my man. Thanks for joining me today.
Well, darn, don't I just feel like the special little lady? Yeah, no, it's always great being back. Just being able to talk about the Phils, it's always a fun time, especially when things like Kyle Schwarber hitting 4 home runs in a game is happening. You can't beat that. Can't beat that. But I think you kind of wanted to hop into our next topic in that we touched on it a little bit. You were saying that the Mets series was so awful.
Yeah, the Mets series, we had all the vibes last night, which is incredible. And, you're back home, you're back in your comfort zone. We know how good the Phillies are at home. They actually, up until that Mets series, were above 500 on the road as well. There's only 4 teams in the league that are above 500 on the road. So for them to have been that 5th team for a little while there is a comforting feeling for a team with World Series aspirations like these Phillies have. But New York, and specifically Citi Field, that place that Chase Utley used to own when it first opened has become, and I hate to say this because it's been used everywhere, but it literally is a, don't hate me, house of horrors for this Phillies team. It's what else can you call it at this point? As a media member, as a fan, you have every right to say that, regardless of what the team and the manager says. They're going to deny, no, it's not in our heads. It's a place that, but look what they've done the last 2 days. Later meetings, later batting practice. They had a meeting with the team after the final game in New York. They don't do team meetings. Rob Thompson spoke to the team like, yo, we gotta pick things up. We gotta flush this thing and move past it, because that was a rough series, and it really was. We went from a week ago them absolutely dominating another playoff caliber team in the Seattle Mariners with a historic series sweep to coming back and getting swept historically the other way. They haven't had many series where they've given up 10 plus hits in each game in their history. And that's what happened in New York. And it looked a lot like when they went to New York last year in the postseason. They've lost 10 straight at Citi Field. They're 6-24 in their last 30 since the beginning of 2022. There is something going on with this team and Citi Field, whether it's Queens, whether it's the Mets, whether it's something untoward going on. I'm not making any accusations, but my goodness, it makes you think, because it is a drastic difference there than it is anywhere else. Alec, what are your thoughts, man? It is give me some other cliche then, or give me a reason why I shouldn't be speaking in these cliches, because it's just bad every time you're up there. To get the whole season, they were swept up there. That doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. But also in today's day and age of baseball, getting swept up there means 6 games. It used to be a whole host of a
True.
lot more. And I think this is just a bad stretch. There's only one place in all of baseball that I think is a true house of horrors for the Phillies, and that's San Francisco.
Please.
That is the only place, because it's in San Francisco. The Phillies have to travel there across country most of the time. So they are already jet lagged. On top of that, it's a pitcher friendly park. And on top of that, the field dimensions are ridiculous. So it's always something in San Francisco. And it's usually something to do with, wow, they're 1 for 21 with runners in scoring position this entire series, because they've done that. That's the only place that I personally think is a house of horror for the Phillies. I think this is just a dumb, bad stretch. I think the Phillies the team has gotten a little in their head when they've gotten there, but it'll turn around eventually. And listen, the only way that the Phillies could see them in the playoffs is in Citi Field, is in they would have to get one of the buys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
it
it
would
goes
have to
right
be
now, they would get the second bye, and then they would play the Mets. If the standings were as they are right now at the end of the year, they would play them in the CS.
Yeah, which that's 7 games. And by then, that's playoff baseball. Who knows how the teams are rolling? And we're talking about the NLCS. The Mets have a much tougher road to go through. And it's not like the Phillies are the only team that can stop the Mets or anything. I'm personally not worried. Again, Citi Field has been really annoying, but it's been that way since the days of James Norwood. Yeah, that's right. I brought up the 7-run comeback.
Yep.
I'm not over that. But
fair enough. But so,
happens.
Alex,
It happens.
We have a comment. It's not just being swept, it's how awful they looked in the process. There was uncharacteristic errors and mistakes, even goofy ones, like not an error, but the bunt that takes off past Taiwan when he's such a good fielder. The deflection single that goes off Bohm's glove. He's such an improved fielder.
The Harrison Bader overthrow.
Yeah, the Harrison Bader, he's one of the league leaders in outfield assists, and he absolutely sails one to home plate.
And I
these
feel like
things
he
are just
juggled
weird.
like 3 different balls.
Yeah, it's just weird situations. And you mentioned that you think the San Francisco is a house of horrors for them. What if I told you that the Phillies since 2022 have a 724 OPS in San Francisco? But since 2022,
yes, look,
they have a 607 OPS in New York.
Yes, but
more than 100
points
look at like
the runner in scoring position. I swear it was like 3 for 25 last year.
Well, I mean,
so they might have hit okay, but they didn't score any runs.
They just went 3 for 22 with runners in scoring position in New York.
Yes, and I'm saying
that was horrendous.
Yes, it was. But I still don't see that as a place I'm scared to of playing. And if I was to say I was scared to see the Phillies play in New York, I feel like that would generate even more bad energy that isn't needed when facing the Mets. That's where I'm at.
I agree.
That I'm not trying to manifest Citi Field being this prison in which the Phillies are in solitary confinement for the rest of their lives. No.
Yeah, okay.
It's baseball. Things happen. Baseball is baseball. It's weird. Sometimes teams are crazy amazing, and sometimes they're bleh.
And look, they got 4 left at home against the Mets. If they go and do a 180 and do the same thing to them, do you care that they got swept up there? Not really.
I don't even need them to sweep. 3 out of 4 would be perfect. That's all they need. And then they just have to basically, well, no, they don't even have to outpace the Mets. They just can't fall on their faces while the Mets run past, which I don't think they will, even without Zach Wheeler. I'm not worried about this sweep. If it was the last series of the season against the Mets, maybe a little bit. But again, they have 4 games in Philly. And they knocked out Senga. They knocked out Manaea. Their hitters were just red hot at Citi Field. But I can guarantee you they're going to have a lot tougher of a time doing the same thing in Philadelphia.
So here's again, I'm bringing it back up. It's not being subject
Yes,
to how awful
they
they looked
did
in the
look
process,
awful.
but to me, so here's my point, Alec, is like if they got swept, but everything was a pretty close game, fine, you accept
Some of
it.
it
Mets are
was.
really good at home. Some of it was. You're right, and I
The
gave them a
first
lot of
two
credit
games.
for. I gave him a lot of credit for clawing back in that one, and then Duran had something that's never happened to him in his life. He gave up 4 straight hits. That's literally never happened in his career. I looked through every game he's ever played to make sure that I
Yeah,
was right. I didn't call Elias. I did it myself. Groundwork.
good
I
job.
did
I'm
it.
proud of you.
He's never given up 4 straight hits, not even across outings. He's never given up 4 hits in a row.
I
He
I,
gave up
I
4
want
hits
to
to start
bring
the.
up one
It's
thing.
such an odd thing, right? But
I
like
want to bring up one thing.
they've also led in 6 of the 10 games up there. And
Yes,
New York just plays with this urgency where they don't feel like they can lose in that stadium against the Phillies.
there's one thing about this series that nobody has brought up that I feel like is an important factor to show. This dead offense thing, it didn't start in New York. In Washington, they underperformed drastically. They won 2 out of 3, so nobody really talked about it that much. But they should have scored a whole heck of a lot more runs against those Nationals relievers. And because they didn't, they burned out their bullpen a little bit. And because of that, that Monday game turned into a couple of problems in which they blew that lead, and then they had to bring in Romano, and Romano just gave up what, 4 was it? And then Joe Ross, and now Joe Ross isn't a Philly anymore, and who knows what's going on really with Romano. But like there was a whole factor of how the bullpen had to pick up the slack for the offense from the National Series, and it was a cascading effect in which the bullpen couldn't be deployed as wanted in that first game, which really made a difference. I again, that's just one of the factors. It looked like the Mets hitters were so comfortable at the plate, even against a player like Chris Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo, and for the fact the Mets are not a good team against left-handed pitchers. So I don't know if they just have something specific on Chris Sanchez and Jesus Luzardo, but it sure looked like they did. You're muted, Kyle.
Good.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Appreciate that. Yeah, but it's funny you bring that up. So Bryce Harper mentioned that after the Chris Sanchez game, and he's not a guy who minces words or says things by mistake. It wasn't anything accusatory. He said the Mets might have something on him. They're one of the best in the league at getting stuff on guys. And Jason Stark was on 97.5 earlier this week, and Jason Stark is not a guy who just says things to say things, and he reiterated that fact. He said the Mets are known to be one of the better teams at picking up on tells for guys. And if Bryce Harper's telling you that they have something, they more than likely do. So you're going to have to compete with not only a strong Mets team, but the fact that their analytics team is so good. Now, the one thing I'll say, and I haven't looked at the numbers about how both offenses have performed overall when they're in Philly versus New York, but over the same stretch where they've I think since the beginning of 2023, they've had a rough stretch in New York. They're also 14-5 against the Mets at home in that same stretch. So the record speaks volumes for me, but maybe the numbers are still there. And because, you just get that home vibe that they're able to come through, they're so good at home. So that is one thing to consider. If they have the home field advantage, they should have the advantage in this series, but we saw what happened last season. I think it's just watching what happened last season. Last season already brought up so many emotions from the last 2 seasons, and then you see a very similar thing happen the last time you're in New York to end the season. It's easy to get ahead of yourselves. The important thing is that the Phillies themselves don't get ahead of themselves and allow this place to stay in their heads. That being said, I do feel watching them that place was in their heads at least for those 3 games. You saw uncharacteristic emotions from Chris Sanchez. And yes, it was unrelated to, it may not have been related to the fact that they hit him. It may have been related to the balk and the wild pitch and whatever that else happened to him, but uncharacteristic emotions. The next day, Jesus Luzardo, yes, it all started from the very, very late time call from the home plate umpire in the first inning, and then a couple missed calls in that at bat. A couple missed calls both ways the entire game, but it really seemed to stick in his head. And you saw uncharacteristic emotions as he walked off the field getting tossed by the home plate umpire. Even JT started to show frustrations. Now he kept himself cool, but that's 2 days in a row where two of your calm, cool, collected guys showed a lot of energy out there that you don't normally see. That's the thing that's concerning me after that series, is that it did feel like that place was in their heads, at least for those 3 days.
I don't think that's exactly what happened for all 3 days. I think by the third day it absolutely did. But I think everything just started stacking on top each other. It's like a bad day you're having. A couple of things aren't going just right, and then just these little biting things. Maybe somebody cuts you off. Maybe it's just somebody calling at a time. You don't want to deal with it. Maybe you drop something. Maybe you stub your toe. Just these little things that build and build and build and build and build and build and build on
Very
top of each other. I think everyone is. Everybody has those days.
Yeah. For the parents out there, think of the pout fish and the mad day. It was one thing, then another stacked on top.
I have no idea what this man's talking about.
For the parents out there, they'll get it. Don't worry about it.
I am not. Child-free since 1996. Anyway, it just kept stacking, and it started with, Chris Sanchez in that inning and with the balk and then the wild pitch. That was a weird sequence of events. And it frustrated, and things happened. It's annoying. Romano being the first one in, and then they just keep scoring. Annoying. Joe Ross, annoying. Then we go to game 2. The first pitch of the game against Trey Turner is a low called strike, like decently out of the zone. And that changed the complexity of his first at bat against Minaya. And he's not that great against Minaya to begin with. So that changed the whole complexion of that at-bat for the Phillies. Then you go into Luzardo's inning, and dear Lord, was he getting squeezed. No wonder he was getting frustrated. And then to Juan Soto. He's already started his windup well into it, and Juan Soto calls time and is granted time.
And it wasn't just that he called time. It was how much of a gap there was between him putting his hand up and the umpire giving him that bothered me. If he did it right when he put his hand up, okay, it was still late, but he got down in his stance behind JT and then was like, oh, wait a second. He called timeout 13 seconds ago. Let me give it to him now.
I love the confidence of the home plate up that did not even try to get out of the way, even though this guy was throwing 100 in the first inning. He did hit 100. Although it might have been 99.6 or something, but still. For Luzardo, that's juiced a little. So he was, that whole situation was just infuriating because of that entire at bat. He had to throw like 5 strikes to get this guy out. The highest paid player in the league. The optics on it in general are terribly annoying. So just the whole, you stack that right on top of this bullshit sandwich, and then you're just going through that entire game, and then by the third game, that's when I believe then sure, Citi Fuel got in their heads. There's nothing that they could do. They got to play hero ball. Somebody's got to hit the 4-run home run, the 5-run home run, excuse me, with no one on base. That's when you could just see that there was no life. They needed a reset. They needed a reset. And God bless Cal Quantrill for being the reset this team needed.
But it's something that fans have almost gotten annoyed at Rob Thompson for saying, but it was an example of 3 days of guys trying to do too much. And like a lot of times you don't necessarily see that. And you saw it through the television screen for 3 straight days of guys trying to do too much.
Again, especially the third game. The third game
for
was
sure
lifeless.
But it was such a drastic difference watching the two teams. The Mets used the entire field. They took they had what was it? 38 hits in 3 days, and I think 6 were for extra bases. with that high-powered lineup with 4 guys over 20 homers, like that high-powered line, at least at the top, and they have some guys who are hot at the bottom right now. And they had 6 extra base hits the whole series. They hit the ball all over the place and took what the Phillies gave them, and a struggling Mets pitching staff the Phillies just couldn't figure them out. And I think that's why people were so stuck on it. It's why I'm stuck on it right now, Alec. And
There's
I know
a Jeff Passan tweet that's a little interesting that just came through.
Oh yeah?
It's not Phillies related, but it is World Series related because he was just the World Series MVP from a year ago. Walker Buehler was just released.
Oh wow. Walker Buehler. Oh, somebody might. I don't know how long you got to wait, but somebody might snag him up before the first hits to try and get him on a postseason roster.
Yeah, I know that.
Why not keep him as a reliever? That's weird.
They did move him as a reliever, which I'm
going to look into that, but
yeah, that is an odd situation. I did not see that one coming. Yeah, Walker Buehler, the World Series MVP from a year ago, is looking to be a free agent.
That is a surprise. But
yeah, I knew he had like a 5.7 ERA or something around that. He was really bad in the middle of the season. I swear it was like a 6.7 ERA where he peaked out at. But his last few starts weren't like bad. He had 6 innings in San Diego, shutout. 6 innings at Houston, 4 earned runs, not great. And then at Baltimore, he only went to the 5th inning, allowed 2 earned runs. Like, but he hasn't been like awful.
I don't know. Maybe they could have looked a little closer. Maybe he had, middle finger inflammation and they could have held on to him a little bit longer. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, looking at it, the World Series run, he allowed 6 earned runs in his one start in the DS against the Padres, but then no runs in 4 innings against the Mets, and then no runs in 6 innings against the Yankees. Like, I don't know. It's so odd.
He'll be a Dodger for sure. For sure, the Dodgers will go get him and make sure that he's postseason eligible. Yeah. He's already on a plane on the way to LA. He's on his way. I think
as long as he gets added to a roster before September 1st.
Yep.
I think that he should be postseason eligible.
That was my discussion. I even asked Topper about, like, do you have any plans to potentially call up another starter before September 1st in case they're needed for the postseason? If Nola continued to struggle and maybe ended up back on the injured list, if Walker, if his impressive season started to bottom out, if anybody, just in case after you lose Zach, is there something that you want to do just to have a backup and get them on the roster so they're actually postseason eligible as opposed to just being the extra arm for September? So we'll have to. I doubt that's going to happen at this point, but we do have 2 more days to see if they make a move to make sure that somebody else is postseason eligible. I don't want to spend too much more time on the Mets. I do think that it'll sit with fans for a little while, and it doesn't matter.
I mean, fans until the 4-game series in Philly.
Yeah, and I think rightfully so. I think that when you, as a fan, you do whatever you want. Hang on to whatever you want. I understand that things kind of build up over the years and over the series, but as long as the team flushes it and moves past, flush it, burn the tape, do whatever trope you want to say. If they're able to move past it, then it's pretty clear that they're going to have to prove it at some point. But they're not going to focus on it, and they shouldn't. As long as they can improve and get themselves ready and get themselves mentally and physically prepared for the postseason. So many different things. I mean, look at what happened in 2022. Nobody expected them, except for maybe themselves, to go on that run. So you can't let one series dictate how you play the rest of the year. But it is 28 games left. 13 against the division. It's still going to be a challenge the rest of the way. You got 3 more against Milwaukee in that process. Yes, you end with 3 against the depleted Minnesota Twins. You may have a matchup against Mick Abel, but other than that,
road trips to the Dodgers and to the Diamondbacks.
And they do not seem to play well in Arizona, even though I know that they made some moves They still have a lot of their core players there from earlier in the season and last season. So that will be it's still a tough stretch moving forward. We got a comment in here before we move on from the Bueller topic fully. A 4.99 ERA and 50 starts the last 4 years. Something is not right there. I agree. Impressive postseason last year, but overall has not lived up to what he had shown early in his career. So,
and that's
thanks,
fair.
John, for the additional comment.
That's 100% fair.
Yeah. But yeah, it's. I don't know what else can really be said. If they can put the Mets series behind them, which it looks like they have,
I
at least
do
for
think
a day.
I have one thing I want to chime in about.
Go for it.
I know it wasn't a pretty start to the game last night for Aaron Nola, but I think there's something that there should be a light of hope here from that first inning. Aaron Nola's velocity was looking really good. Now, the curveball, his bread and butter, wasn't working, and his location wasn't the best, but his velocity was, he hit 94, like a true 94 a couple of times, and was around 93, which at that velocity, I wouldn't be surprised if the next Aaron Nola start is a gem. I'm going to put that out now. And if they can build on Aaron Nola to be one of their postseason starters, it's going to be huge help for them. Because Chris Sanchez, we know, has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's obviously going to be your number one guy going into the postseason. But then you have 3 lefties. And do you really want to go with 3 lefties into the postseason as your top 3 starters?
I look at if they're performing the best, I don't care what hand they throw with. I'm not going to put Aaron Nola out there just because if he doesn't pitch well in September. That's silly to me. Like he does perfect timing. Comment Alex and Alex. I know this guy. But I know him. His name is Alex. I didn't misspeak. Everyone, I know that my co-host here is Alec. Anyway. Alex with the comment, I love Nola, but he has to prove it with every start now. And I agree. I know that he has
obviously you're not going to
this team, but if he looks like the guy that he was to start the season, you're not starting him.
No, obviously not. I don't even know if you add him to the postseason roster at that point. If he does struggle through September. Like it could be like Taijuan Walker in 23 when he was so upset that he wasn't in the postseason roster. He was kind of mediocre. Aaron Nola's been worse so far, but like if he has a good September, I wouldn't be afraid to put him in a postseason rotation.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's a veteran. You know that he knows how to navigate those big pressure moments. He's proved it in the past. His numbers aren't outstanding in October, but they're strong, solid numbers. And if he can pitch well in September and shows that he can be healthy and give this team what they need, then yeah, you definitely go with him in that spot, at least, split up maybe.
I don't
Sanchez,
know who I would
Luzardo,
prefer
Sanchez, Suarez.
Between Luzardo and Suarez, because Ranger, he was really struggling for a bit. And it seems like Luzardo, he's always catching some damage in the 4th or 5th inning at this point. So I knew that I really wanted to see Luzardo as a reliever for the postseason before Zach Wheeler was injured. If Aaron Nola does have a good September, I think I still want to see what he can do as a high leverage lefty reliever, because they're going to need it without Alvarado in the postseason.
For sure. And I think that there's 2 schools of thought, obviously, because there's 2 guys. But if you want somebody who can really bring some extra heat in the postseason, Luzardo's stuff plays more to that. He's already hitting 95 to 97 on a regular basis. We saw when he was really fired up, he touched triple digits on the gun, at least on the.
If he's going one inning at a time, he might average 99.
So I mean, if he goes 1 to 2 innings, his stuff ticks up a little bit. Rangers stuff isn't built to do that, and it might tick up a little bit. But if it goes from 92, 93 to 94, 95. That's not as big of a difference as going 97 to 100. And to me, I think that might be the factor, even if you have plans on, unofficial plans on piggybacking, right? Like we go Suarez early, and then when we feel like they start to figure him out, okay, we go with a cleanup guy, and then we bring in Luzardo for a clean inning to see what he has. Maybe you do something like that, and obviously they wouldn't announce that plan because then
No,
teams can
no,
plan
and
accordingly.
that's
But
a far off speculation. But I mean, as we start to enter September here, I think it is something we really do need to start thinking about. This team is obviously heading into the playoffs. They're not going to miss the playoffs. I say that 100%.
yeah,
They do have questions to answer in this last month.
and so the big thing for me is like, so that's the thought on Luzardo. For Ranger, his stuff doesn't tick up as much, but he has extensive experience being successful out of the bullpen, both in the regular season and the postseason. So do you go with a guy you're putting him in an unfamiliar position, but his stuff might tick up a little bit better? Or do you go with the guy who has been there, done that, earned the t-shirt?
I think I'd rather have Suarez in the rotation. I really do. Because he has been there, done that, and he's that bulldog on the mound in the postseason. He's not afraid of anything. And I think he will better be played for 5 to 6 innings as a starter in the postseason, as a one-inning guy. I just feel like 2022 was it 2022 or 2023 when he was being used as a reliever in the
I have the
postseason?
numbers on. In the postseason,
Yeah.
in 22, he started 3 games, but he came out of the pen twice. In 23, he was a starter. Last year, he was a starter. So 2022, it was a little
Okay.
bit of a mix, but like he was going shorter. He went 3 and a
Yeah.
third, then he went 5, then he went two
Well, that
thirds,
first
two
start
thirds,
against the
5.
Braves
Yeah,
was bad, but
yeah.
yeah, I just see him more as a starter, and I think his stuff really gets hitters off balance, and I think that's very frustrating, especially in a playoff environment for a team. I think there's a psychological effect there as well. All these teams nowadays prepare for heat. Not many of them prepare for Greg Maddux.
I almost wonder, is it better to show them what they expect at the beginning and then slow the game down? Or do you start them off
Not
slow,
for one inning.
get them
Not
to
for one
adjust
inning.
down and then bring it back up, right? Like, is it, hey, we want you to adjust to this 93 so we can hit you with 100 and it looks like 103?
Well, I mean, if Yohan Duran has anything to say about it, at the end of the game, there is going to be 103.
Yeah, they're going
So,
to face 103 with 12 inches of vertical movement.
yeah. And 98 with, oh, God forbid, whatever you're going to see. Some dark magic of a pitch that somehow the
Just,
Mets hit. And again,
oh. But
I
those
I
were
don't
just
know.
catching the plate. I mean, like if you go back and look, the movement was there, but it was just catching the plate. And like I said, their
Yeah,
approach was
a
just
little.
take what these guys give you. It was so much half swings, just put it in play. It wasn't a lot of uppercut, a lot of swinging as hard as you can type of swings out of a team that can do that when they need to. And it was, I hate to go back to this thing, but it's basically one of Rob Thompson's catchphrases. I mean, it's coach speak, and you expect this from everybody, but it's one of his catchphrases at this point. The guys are trying to do too much. Well, you're a veteran laden team. I think they have the highest average age in baseball among their players. You have a bunch of superstars. This is a group that has to be able to make that adjustment at this point, and hopefully they can come October. Because
Are
what
they
you
the
saw in New
oldest
York is,
team?
I
They
think
can't be
so.
the
I
old.
think they're like, well,
Maybe like
because
top 5.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I heard them say the oldest on the broadcast the other day, but if not the oldest, one of the oldest.
Yeah, I could see. I don't know. I could be wrong. It just feels like it should.
David Robertson probably doesn't help that, but
Right, right.
let's see. Average age, they are not the oldest, according to a really old thing on ESPN. I don't know. I'm going to look into it a little bit further, but
Yeah, David
um,
Robertson doesn't help that. I kind of forgot that adding a 40-year-old to that does
yeah,
skew it just a
impacts it a
bit.
little bit. So that
Yeah.
entering the season, the Phillies were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth oldest, and they've
Okay.
added a 40-year-old since then. So,
Yeah. Well, they also added Yohan Duran.
yeah, he's a little younger. They also added
Is
Lou
Bader like
Trevino. He's not
30?
that old. Bader's a little on the older side.
He's not like old, but like
No,
he
no,
might be
it's
30.
his. look, everybody except Robertson is younger than me, so who am I calling old? But we're talking baseball terms here, not literal terms, of course. Oh man, yeah, like I said, I don't want to get sucked back into the Mets thing because you know how passionate I was about it earlier.
Yeah, and I don't want to manifest that, honestly. I don't
I
want
like
to
that
give the
take a lot.
Mets.
I like that take a lot. It's not
I don't
super
need the Mets to
superstitious, but
have
it's a little
anything over
stitious.
me.
It's a little stitious. I like it. I don't want to manifest it. Okay. All right. I'll take
I
it.
don't want to. Because why give them any sort of power when they're 5 games back in the division? They lost to the Marlins last night. Phillies are back to a 5-game lead.
They did lose to the Marlins last night.
So, sitting here, maybe if this launched them into like their hottest streak of the season, but immediately going and losing to the Marlins, I'm not worried.
Yeah, last thing I'll say on the Mets, the thing that bothered me, bothered isn't even the right word. The thing that like worried me a little bit more wasn't just that they shrunk the lead in the division with the 3-game sweep. It was that they built themselves some buffer behind between themselves and the Cincinnati Reds. So the fact that the Cincinnati Reds, I know that they're barely above 500, but they were creeping up on the Mets. Now they have a 4-game lead over that. It just solidifies them a little bit more in the playoffs. And after last season, do you want to see them again come playoffs? Whether it's and taking all the superstitious and all the House of Horrors nonsense that I said earlier, it's really tough to face your division that many times, and divisional games can always be weird. So do you want to see them again? I don't know. Before we get into the look ahead, just want to do a reset here. Appreciate everybody sticking it out. You, of course, are tuned in to Philly Sports Network here on social media and YouTube for Alley Talk. We go live 2 p.m. every single Friday during the Phillies season. Myself, Kyle Fisher, I host every week with a cavalcade or a rotation of our fantastic Phillies writers. This week, filling in with me is Alec Costival. You can find him at Costival on Base on X. Where else can they find you, Alec?
You can also find me on Blue Sky. I don't know what the name is. Just look for Alec Costival. You'll find it.
You will.
Because Blue Sky account names are dumb.
Yeah, I always go by the first part, right? I'm Kyle Fisher 45 dot whatever else they make me put in there.
I think it's like baseball, Alec, because I was like, well, if I'm early enough.
Yeah, right. Not a bad idea. I probably could have gotten away with a smaller number, but it's an ode to my jersey from my beer vending days. So
I was going to say you definitely didn't need a number.
No, not too many Kyle Fishers out there. I don't think I've met a few, but not as many.
Well, at least not on Blue Sky is what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah,
yeah.
You can find me, as we just mentioned, at Kyle Fisher 45 on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. Make sure you're following at Philadelphia SN on X, at phillysportsnet.bluesky.social to follow all of our writers all season long. Again, our guy, Sean Nestor, at Sean_Nestor, is down at the ballpark today covering from the press box for our crack.
And I'll be there tomorrow night then.
Perfect. Okay, you'll be there tomorrow. I don't remember who we have on Sunday. I think it's Matt, but just if you tune in, we'll put out a graphic letting you know when we release the lineups. We always put in there who is covering for the team, so you can follow both Philly SN and our specific writers for that Philly squad. Oh man, a lot of fun stuff. We already covered our feelings on the Mets series. We already covered the excitement last night. Kyle Schwarber becoming just the 21st player in Major League history to hit 4 home runs in a single game. He's the 4th Philly to accomplish the feat, joining Mike Schmidt, Chuck Klein, and Ed Delhanty.
Good old Ed Del.
All 3 guys are in the Hall of Fame. So that's pretty exciting. Funny how much the game has changed since Ed did that back in, what was it, 1896?
I think.
Two of his home runs were inside the Parkers. And then Lachlan, the Phillies beat writer for the Inquirer, she said apparently one of them landed in a flock of chickens, which is a hilarious note to find. Great poll by her. Must have found an old newspaper article somewhere in the archives to pull that one. But a lot of excitement last night, and Phillies fans across the Delaware Valley are hoping that continues. Tonight, we mentioned our guy, Sean Nestor, will be down there once again. Bryce Elder for the Braves, taking the pill to face off against the lefty Ranger Suarez.
Mr. Rager on the mound.
Oh, yeah. First off, awesome, awesome nickname, awesome entrance music.
Oh yeah.
Can't complain about that one bit. Ranger, we talked about, you touched on it a little bit earlier. He did have that little bit of a rough stretch after an electric start to the season. As of late, he has started to figure it out once again. What is the number? He's gone 7, 6 and a third, 5 and a third, 6 and 2/3, 7 in his last outing against Washington. Some rough ones mixed in there. He had a 5 earned run game and a 6 earned run game, but still that ERA sitting at just a 3.07, 10-6 record on the season. What do you expect to see from Ranger Suarez against this Braves lineup tonight?
I'd expect more of what we've seen recently. I think he's going to have a good start. This hasn't been a particularly strong Braves lineup this year. Hopefully we continue to see strong starts from him, and he builds up that he can be that number 3 starter in the postseason for the Phillies, or number 2, or wherever they need him. But I think it's more of just, let's see how he keeps going, and hopefully he doesn't have that second half blip more than he's already had this year.
That would be helpful for sure. We'll have to see.
He's pitching for a contract.
That's one of the things that, Schwarber's playing like he's earning that big contract. Ranger pitched early like that, but it's been up and down recently. If he has a strong September, there's always a need for starting pitching. There's always a need for left-handed starting pitching. If he can be electric the rest of the year, not only does that help the Phillies, but it helps his probably his biggest payday that he will get during the remainder of his career. Not to be taken lightly, we know that the Braves lineup hasn't been too exciting all season long. We know that they've struggled all year. However, before last night, they were 14-6 coming into this series. So the Phillies have a chance to maybe shut that excitement down a little bit, but we've talked about how tough divisional games can be, and we know that the Braves have seen Ranger a ton. Yes, he does have good numbers against them, but if he comes out and shoves once again, a little bit less of a concern again to build on the excitement from last night. So should be a good one. I haven't looked at the numbers for those two guys, so I'm going to pull up to see how the Phillies hitters have done against Elder. I don't know if you have anything else you want to talk about for tonight's game, if there's any exciting
Not much,
matchups.
But I have one question for you, Kyle.
Okay. Shoot.
Do you think there is any possibility that the Phillies start Taijuan Walker in a postseason game?
Yes. I mean, I think that if you're an injury and an Aaron Nola struggle away from that being a very realistic possibility.
I don't even think it's that far. If you look at the numbers, his ERA is half a run better than Jesus Luzardo's as it sits today.
Well, man. He's pitched really well.
He's really done.
Some of the advanced metrics don't love, but I look at results. I do take advanced metrics into account, but you have to look at results, and he stepped up in a big way, man, a really big way.
Like if Aaron Nola does, I think it's more if Aaron Nola struggles, would you consider it?
Yeah, because you're going to need 4 in the DS regardless, or in the DS or the CS regardless. So yeah, I think that it's something you have to consider.
I don't think you need it in the DS.
Out.
I think they changed the schedule around that you don't. But in the CS, I think you would.
I didn't talk to him specifically about this, but during my conversation with Cole Hamels last week, I asked him about Taijuan Walker, and he said he's a guy I'm just so impressed with his work ethic, how hard he worked in spring training to really get himself back to a position. He's like, he understands. I understand why he had a bad season, but he's a competitor, and what he's doing this season is impressive. So for him to be to continue being inside himself and going out and doing what he's doing, it's a huge help to this team. And that's, now he gets more opportunities, and it's something where everybody kind of sees and understands that's the kind of guy he is and what he brings to this clubhouse. So, a huge, huge compliment from a Phillies legend in Cole Hamels on what Taijuan's been able to do for this team this year. He's basically allowed them to rotate through guys being injured. Normally you're in full-on panic mode when Aaron Nola goes down, and then Ranger goes down, and then Luzardo gives up 20 runs in 2 games, and then you lose Zach Wheeler. And there's been one constant through all of that, and it's pretty solid outings from Taijuan Walker. And I don't think anybody expected that coming into this season outside of that clubhouse, because everybody within that clubhouse that you speak to about Taijuan Walker will tell you the same thing. You talked about Bulldog. They talk about how much of a competitor he is. He is one of the toughest competitors out there, despite being a pretty mellow guy, at least speaking with the media. So to me, what he's given you this year, he's at the very least making the postseason roster. And if Aaron Nola, like Alex said earlier, if Aaron Nola can't prove it the rest of the season, that fourth spot's going to go to Walker. And it should.
That would be an interesting turnabout.
Yeah. Yes, it would. Finally got to the numbers for Bryce Elder tonight, who's taking the ball for the Braves. Harrison Bader, 0 for 4 in his time with him, but it gets better from there. Don't worry. Alec Boehm, 4 for 9 against Elder. Castellanos, 4 for 8. All 4 of his hits are home runs off the righty. So maybe you see him in right
homer tonight.
instead of I take it. Maybe you see Casty in right and Bader gets the day off because of that little break right there. Kepler, 0 for 4. Maybe he's the guy we'll have to see. But they like playing that platoon advantage. So maybe you see Kepler, Marsh, and Castellanos out in the outfield. The lineup hasn't been released yet. Make sure you follow at Philadelphia SN for that lineup graphic. Brandon Marsh is 4 for 6 against Elder with a double. Trey Turner, 3 for 7 with a double and a homer. Bryson Stott, 1 for 7. JT, 1 for 5. Schwarber, 0 for 6. 3 walks, though. Just so some of the other contributors may be the guys who step up
like
big.
a good night at the office.
I agree. Some of the other guys on this squad might be the ones to step up tonight outside of Kyle. Heck, maybe Kyle gets the night off. He was one of the few guys who didn't leave the lineup last night. So we'll have to see what happens when that lineup comes out. But I think a guy to watch closely, Nick Castellanos for sure. Boehm has seen him well. Marsh has seen him well, as he's seen right-handers well all season long. Let's look at what Ranger Suarez has done against this Brave squad, who has seen him plenty, because obviously we want to see big things from him. 5 for 24 for Ronald Acuna. Wow. I always anticipate Ronald Acuna having incredible numbers against everybody just because he's that good of a talent. 5 for 24, 2 doubles, no homers. Ozzie Albies, 7 for 28, but 3 homers and 11 ribbies. So he's gotten to him a little bit. This is from ESPN.com. They always include postseason numbers, so in their lineups. Jurickson Profar, who also I know that it's not a concern for them, but he's not eligible for the postseason. However, he is 5 for 16 against the left-hander. Ozuna, 7 for 28. Olson, 8 for 30. Sean Murphy, 3 for 14 with 2 homers. If he makes the lineup, I know that they have another strong catcher back there. Eli White, I'm not too worried about him. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Nick Allen, who I saw in last night's lineups, barely faced him 0 for 2. So not incredible numbers, but a guy to watch who's been their leadoff hitter, Jurickson Profar, and we know what Ozuna can do, hitting 250 against him. We know he can go off at any moment. So looks like advantage Phillies lineup, but yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out.
I need to say something after scrolling through Instagram.
Okay.
DraftKings posted this 3 hours ago. And it's a post from, looks like Twitter, that somebody pointed out. Aiden Miller, the Phillies' top hitting prospect, looks suspiciously like Timothy Chalamet.
Like, you're going to have to tweet it out so people can follow.
With his little mustache, it's kind of a dead ringer.
Let me look. I'm trying to see if from Corey's piece, if you can see it on there.
Chalamet,
look-alike. They throw him on the big board.
Yeah. It's uncanny. I wish I had more to show right now, but I don't know if that can be seen.
Ooh, okay. I see it.
Like,
I see it.
Like,
look at the Philly connection. Yes, look at that. It's there, baby. I see it.
That's just Timothy Chalamet.
I haven't seen them in the same room, so
nobody knows.
Nobody
knows. Who
Speaking
knows?
of Aidan
Maybe
Miller,
Dune was filmed in the offseason.
I wasn't there. I'm out at the ballpark all the time. I didn't see it. Anyway, speaking of Aidan Miller, our guy Corey Nido, who's one of our lead Eagles writers at Philly SN, also has been a great contributor for the Phillies all season long. He's basically our minor league expert for Philadelphia Sports Network. He put together an incredible piece on Aidan Miller's August. He got off to that really slow start to the season. He's been absolutely electric. Philly's number 2 prospect. He hit his 12th homer of the year last week, and his OPS in August at that time was raised to 1.107. Stole 50 bases. Wasn't known to be an electric base stealer, and all of a sudden he's putting in 50 stolen bases. He picked up a hit in 17 of the first 21 games of the month, 10 multi-hit games. Again, you can find that piece from Corey Nido over at Philadelphia Sports Network. Alec, we got 2 more after tonight against the Braves. You're going to be down there tomorrow night. Braves have not announced their starting pitcher as of yet. Chris Sanchez will be on the mound for the Phillies, though. Do you feel like you need to see a little bit more poise from Chris Sanchez after what we saw from him in New York, or is it just business as usual? We know what we get from this guy.
He's going to throw a complete game.
I don't know if they're going to let him.
He's going to throw a complete game.
He might be lined up to. I don't know if Topper's going to let that happen. He's been very iffy on letting guys go long.
I'm telling you now. Keep an eye out. Complete game out of Chris Sanchez.
We'll see. If the pitch count's there, maybe, but I'm going to go with what Topper said as of late.
105 pitches.
I don't know. We're going to have to see.
This is my prediction.
Okay, that's fair. Well, we're going to put it officially on the record. I'm cutting it. I'm making sure it's out there on socials for everybody to see. Alec predicts Christopher Sanchez complete game. But what do you think about, so that kind of leads me into what a topic that I've at least discussed off the air with some folks. How do you feel about the approach? Because they talked about wanting to get their pitchers some additional rest. They talked about potentially doing a 6-man for at least one turn through. They didn't get to have that, or they didn't get that opportunity with the Wheeler news coming down. And then now he also mentioned, like, maybe instead of putting a guy out there for another inning, I pull them a little early. He's admitted that is a very tough thing to do. And I would imagine that is a tough thing to do because those pitchers want to go back out there. But if you need to get these guys extra rest, and at the on the flip side, you also get to have your relievers come in a clean inning, that is a way to help manage this pitching staff a little bit more, which is one of the reasons I pushed back on that prediction. Is that something that, maybe not tomorrow night because of your prediction, but is that something you would like to see Rob Thompson do? Especially, Romano was your cleanup guy before. He's on the injured list, and I'd be surprised if they put him in that position again. Kerkering has allowed 14 of 30 inherited runners to score. He's been great otherwise, but that particular position he hasn't been great in. Do you want to start seeing these guys, at least for the time being, maybe stop after 6 solid instead of going out for the 7th and having a reliever come in with a clean inning? It's a balancing act because you have taxed this bullpen heavy at times, but you do have reinforcements coming with the rosters expanding and another arm being able to be added just in a few days.
If they're under 90 pitches, I still want to see them out there. I don't think there's any reason. They're still looking to win a division. Once that's secure, you can get some rest. And I think that'll happen a little bit sooner than we're expecting. And I still think I would like to see an Andrew Painter audition, maybe for once or twice through the turn of the rotation to extend to a 6-man. I know he hasn't been perfect in AAA, but what's a late season audition tape going to do to him other than, hey, we'll see you in this rotation next year. There's going to be a spot for you. Because they're not going to re-sign Ranger. For the most part, they're not going to, especially if they want to try to re-sign Schwarber at this point. They need the money. So Andrew Painter already has a built-in spot in the rotation. Why not give him an audition that helps rest these guys a little bit for the postseason?
So my follow-up question to that would be then, do they call him up before September 1st just in case that audition goes so well that you can now have him on the postseason roster? Or is it, hey, you know what? We're going to wait until after the fact so that way there's no pressure on the kid at all. He knows it's strictly just to get these other guys rest. There's no chance he's going to be added to the postseason roster. We're going to let him pitch in his game with no added pressure and just see what he does. Again, it works twofold. He gets a little bit of experience against some major leaguers, and then you know for a fact that he's not going to make the post. It doesn't, you called it an audition, but if he's potentially auditioning for a postseason spot, then he has to get caught up in the next 2 days. If it's just to see how he does and there's no pressure of the added, to me, that's not an audition. That is a pressure-free moment. Hey, go out there and do your thing, kid. Don't worry about the results. It's just to get these guys some rest, and you can really allow him to settle in.
And I think that's a lot of what people have been saying. Be like, well, you don't want to call him up just for him to struggle and then be sent back down. But if you say, hey, you're going to get 2 starts up here, we'll see you full time in this rotation next year. As long as everything goes well in spring training. Let's just see what you can do and just go out there, have fun, and have a good day with your family or whatever. Like, why not? I don't see anything to lose with that situation. But if you're talking about calling him up and potentially using for the postseason, then that's a little bit more high stress, a little bit more pressure. I don't think he needs that for his development.
Yeah, so I think that I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think if they feel like they want to see what he does for a potential postseason run, because they've talked about using starting pitchers, and I know they have some, but they've talked about using starting pitchers all season long out of the bullpen. So if they want to add another arm to that potential whatever collection of arms, however you want to phrase it, if they want to add another arm back there, then you have to do it in the next 2 days. Even if it's, hey, you're going to called up and we'll still keep you on your regular rest, but at least now you're up in time to be qualified. And then, like you said, does that add the extra pressure? I am fine either way. I think that I would like to see how he does. I don't think it's going to be they pull the trigger on him being on the postseason roster, even if he's absolutely lights out in 1 or 2 starts in September. I think it's more likely that that he doesn't make the roster, regardless of how well he would pitch in a call-up. And, hey, let's let the kid be comfortable instead of putting that added pressure on him.
I have one simple desire for the September call-ups. There needs to be one man on this roster for September. We need to get the vibes guy back. We need to get Garrett Stubbs back on
Stubby?
the roster. Why not?
We're going Stubby?
You're on a third catcher. Give JT a little bit time off on his legs.
Well, you just said they got a division to win. Do you want those two? You want Marshawn and Stubby running the show?
Yeah, get Stubby up here. Let's get rolling.
I like the vibes, but are they going to bring back the gum and the water drops? I mean, they did it. They did a tiny water bottle on Schwarber last night.
Yeah, that's because he hit 4 home runs. You got to do something.
But what's Stubby coming up for then? If it's not to get this team feeling like they're young men again instead of grizzled veterans.
Listen. The entire roster would be happy to see him back on the team.
For sure. I'm not
and I think that's going to give a little bit of energy to get through. And when September call-ups usually happen, a third catcher is not an abnormal thing to see. I mean, who else are they going to bring up? I mean, you could choose Otto Kemp, but you can always bring him back up.
My guess is Otto Kemp.
Would be, yeah, sure. I think all the work that Stubby has put in this year in AAA, supporting that young staff, what he did to help Mick Abel, I think you have to reward him.
It would be cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shooting it down if it happens. My official prediction will not be him, though. My guess is you're going to see Otto Kemp and Max Lazar.
Yeah, Max Lazar probably. That makes the most sense.
Maybe they go with one of the guys like Seth Johnson who can give you more than 1 inning. But my guess is Lazar because he's been on the roster most recently. He's pitched with you guys for
and they could always turn through like Lou Trevino if they wanted to.
Yeah, they could always go Trevino and Robert and kind of call up guys. The only reason I think I think they called up Trevino and Robert now because they are guys that I think they would more likely add to a postseason roster. I think that if it was strictly about rest, you would have seen Seth Johnson come up as part of the
I think
roster.
Lazar has a bigger inside track than any of those. those guys.
I agree. I just mean like if you're going to add somebody for good performance,
Well, yeah,
in
Trevino
September,
would have
you get
had to
those
been
guys on the
called
roster
up.
now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Seth Johnson's a guy who can start for you or give you multiple innings out of the bullpen to give these guys some additional rest. Yeah, we're gonna be different on it, but I think that you're gonna see Kemp called up. But I would not hate it if the Vibes Master, was called back up.
I wouldn't call him that.
What, the Vibes Master?
Yeah, that sounds dirty.
Oh, get your head out of the gutter, Alec.
Never.
Comment from Alex. How about Duran blowing the last 2 games he's been in? Are you concerned? I
Not
know
at
that he has
all.
electric stuff, but if he's catching too much of the plate, and really, so the one thing I'll say about it, right? And I agree that I am not overly concerned about Duran's performance. However, it's a loss doing something he's never done before, catching the plate a ton in the biggest pressure situation he's faced since joining the Phillies. And that's followed up by, that was following a 2-hit performance that he escaped against the Nationals and a blown save against the Nationals just last week. It's 3 pretty tough outings in a row, 2 blown games, 1 blown save, 1 loss. It's starting to feel like, is there a concern here? No, he can wash that away by being lights out the next couple of weeks and nobody's concerned. But is it 1 more for you? Is it 2 more for you where you're starting to question, is this a concern? Or is it, hey, I trust the guy, get these kinks out now and get yourself poised for the postseason?
His stuff's too good for me to be concerned. He's throwing a 102-mile-an-hour fastball and a 98-mile-an-hour splinker. I think it's more just coincidence and luck that he's got a hit around these last 2 games than anything else. I am not concerned whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned. It is something I'll keep an eye on. I think that if it's an occasional outing here or there, I'm not overly concerned.
If it happens
if it's like
another
2 or more in a
time,
row,
if it
now
happens
I'm
another
very
2
concerned.
times in a row, sure, I'll start getting worried. But is it going to happen another 2 times in a row? No.
Probably not.
No, it won't. No.
Probably not. And he does have those 2 off-speed pitches to dance around with. So even if like the splinker isn't diving like he wants it to, he has other pitches that he can go on. He's not a 2-pitch guy, so I'm not overly concerned long term about him. He's electric. Take the show out of it and the exciting entrance. He's electric with or without it.
Yeah,
he was electric before it. He's been electric since. He's really good. His Baseball Savant page jumps with red all over the place. I'm not overly concerned. Not yet.
His page is red like October. I kept starting to say it with like an Australian accent.
Red like,
red like.
Man, we just found out we're gonna get a soundboard on here soon, and we got a couple drops already, Alec.
Oh dear Lord.
Man, Matt's gonna love going through this stuff. Don't let Kylie go through it. She's gonna just rip you for weeks.
Oh no.
Oh,
I am in danger.
Okay, so Phillies, we got Chris Sanchez going tomorrow. Luzardo closes things out on Sunday. Would like to see another strong start from him, especially if he can keep his cool. He even said himself, it's uncharacteristic for me. He said himself, I let things pile up and I can't do that. And for him to take ownership of that, it would have been easy to keep that heat even when the media showed up afterwards and he was able to let it go. But right after that, they head out to Milwaukee to take on the best team in Major League Baseball, at least record-wise right now. They've been playing some electric ball. Yes, they've lost 2 in a row, but a different brand of baseball is being played out there in the Midwest by the Milwaukee Brewers. What is your thought on how good this team has been, especially here in the second half?
I don't know how they're doing it. It scares me a little bit, but they just lost.
Watch a couple games and you'll find out. You'll find out
lost
fast.
Their closer, that
changes the game
really
a little bit.
Was one of the better relievers in baseball, so I think that could affect things a little bit. They're still the best team in baseball right now, and I don't know what black magic that they're playing with, but yeah, we'll see.
It is the most unselfish brand of baseball I've seen since maybe the 03 Marlins. I mean, they get on base, they put runners in motion, they pass the baton to the next guy, they hit the other way, they hit the ball out of the ballpark when they need to. It is an impressive brand of baseball that you just don't see anymore across the league. And I know that we don't got a lot of time left here, Alec, but we got to talk about the Brewers before we go, because we're going to talk about how they performed against them next week. How you feeling going into that series, regardless of what happens this weekend? Do you need to see 2 out of 3? Do you just need to see competitive baseball? Are you excited to see them? They've gotten better pitching. Yeah, they lost their closer, but their starters have really started to take off in the second half. It's a different brand of baseball out there in Milwaukee, and they should be scary for any team, not just the Phillies.
I think a sweep is unacceptable. If they lose the series, I don't think it's a huge blow. I do think that people are going to be surprised by how well the Phillies do play them. I do think they'll ultimately come out with a series win. I don't think they'll sweep them. But I think they're going to have a good series in Milwaukee. I just have good feeling about it. Milwaukee's a team that came into Philly and swept them this year. So yeah, I think there's a little payback need to be had.
Yeah, good call out from Alex here. The 2015 Royals were built kind of like this team, just a lot of in motion, a lot of big innings, and not necessarily by the long ball. A lot of singles, a lot of doubles, a lot of steals on that roster. Great just defense too. That's the big thing. Great defense across the entire diamond for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Just like the Brewers used to be, fueled by Locaine.
Get out of here, dude. Well, Alec,
said Locaine, Lorenzo Cain.
I know what you said. I also know what you were saying. So,
well,
I
didn't say Darryl Strawberry.
Either way, it should be an exciting series. 2 of the top teams in the league facing off against each other. To me, like you said, I don't feel like they can get swept and have any good vibes leaving there. But ultimately, if they look good and lose 2 out of 3 close games,
yeah,
I'm feeling pretty good.
I don't know
Milwaukee.
what starters
Everybody
are
plays
possibly slated if they're going to see like Mizorowski or Peralta. But I think they'll do all right. I think they'll do all right.
If they look like they did in New York this past week, it's a different story because it's 2 playoff teams. You look really bad against
negativity.
No, I'm saying if that happens, then it's a very different conversation. If they lose 2 of 3, but they played good games and just got beat in somebody else's house, I think you're leaving Milwaukee still feeling pretty good about yourself. So they're the only team that would have the home field advantage over you at the moment. And then the Mets if they were to catch you, but we're not going to talk about that. They go from being at home playing against Atlanta to on the road once again facing off against those Milwaukee Brewers. A lot of exciting baseball coming up. September is almost here. We will talk all about it again next week on Alley Talk. We appreciate everybody who stuck around this long. I think we're even peaking right now, Alec, but I know we both got to go. I got to check something for the day job before I go pick up my daughter. We are busy people with things to do. Gosh darn it, despite the fact that we're talking about baseball on the internet in the middle of the day on a work day. Besides that fact, we still got stuff to do. Alec, I really, really appreciate you joining me. Can't wait to have you again later this season. Again, make sure you give Alec a follow. He'll be down in the press box covering for Philly Sports Network, covering the game tomorrow night with Chris Sanchez on the mound. Give us any plugs or anything else you want to talk about on the way out,
Alec. Eagles start next week.
Yes, they do. Thank you for that one. Remember, you can find him on X at Costival on base. Search Alec Costival on Blue Sky. You can find me at Kyle Fisher 45 everywhere except YouTube. It's Kyle Fisher Media. Make sure overall, regardless of what's going on, you give Philly Sports Network a follow on all platforms because that's where you can find all of our stuff. Doing great work with the Eagles kicking off. Make sure you give the main account a follow to get all the Phillies and Eagles things that you need. Don't forget, next Friday, right here on YouTube, on socials, Alley Talk, once again, talking about the week that was in Phillies baseball. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support, appreciate you guys sticking with us and watching. As always, a place of love here on Alley Talk, a place of love of the game. That's what we're here for. No hot takes, just straight baseball. Alec, appreciate you once again. And everybody out there who's checked into Alley Talk today. We can't wait to talk more with you next week. Thanks, and peace out.